Yo, what's going on, guys? It's gmeiners here, and I made a video at the beginning of this season showcasing that Cloudstrike with its catalyst actually became one of the best weapons in Destiny, beating out a ton of other meta options in both total damage output and DPS as a special weapon. With the recent meta shifts and changes to Font of Might, Hothead also is looking to be the best weapon you can run next season for damage, and since both are arc, running these with Font of Might seems to be one of the best combos in the game. So in this video, I wanted to test exactly how strong Cloudstrike and Hothead are when paired together, and then compare that to Izinagi's Burden with Hothead, which is currently one of the kings of weapon swaps, both of which are pretty realistic to use for day 1 DPS phases. I know that Imagine made a video on this comparing it to a God Rolled Linear at the beginning of this season. I will have his original video linked below if you guys do want to check that out. We got a bunch of recent changes to the sandbox, including things like Font of Might and special weapons, so I wanted to do some updated testing myself, along with go over why I think this combo could be good to use. As always, if you guys do enjoy the video and you want to see more testing on the channel, make sure to drop a like and sub down below. Now let's take a look at how hard each weapon hits. Starting out with Hothead, this is an adaptive rocket, so this, along with aggressive frames, are going to hit the hardest in the game. This has explosive light, which is a 25% damage increase, and I'm also running boss spec and impact casing. In total, this hits for 116,138 damage, and then taking a look at Wolfpack rounds, these are going to add an additional 32,536 damage per rocket, and do keep in mind, this is if every Wolfpack round hits. Izinagi's Burden, on the other hand, hits for a flat 100,736 damage with a honed edge ×4 shot. This is with Catalyst, and this will also be getting around a 9.5% damage increase next season. So in reality, this is going to hit for up to 110,330 damage. So I will be using this updated number from here on out. Lastly, Cloudstrike hits for 15,178 damage at base, and then 3 shots in the crit will then cause a lightning strike, dealing an additional 24,943 damage. I have heard that multiple of these subsequent strikes can hit the same enemy when procced, which could increase damage, but I've personally never seen this happen in my own testing. Also, do note that if you spam multiple shots, the lightning strike doesn't actually trigger every time after those first 3 shots. It should be every other time, but this basically means you're getting less lightning strikes than you might expect. So in a mag of 10 shots with triple tap, this will hit for 4 total times. I already showed in a previous video that Cloudstrike with its Catalyst easily outdamages Izinagi's Burden and has higher DPS. Obviously, Izzy is going to be more optimal to use in swapping rotations though, so I wanted to compare Izzy and Hothead to Cloudstrike and Hothead, where the Cloudstrike combo will obviously be getting a larger Font of Might benefit. If you end up comparing these two without Font of Might, Izzy is actually much stronger. Izzy rocket swapping is pretty straightforward. This combo was able to deal a total of 1.44 million damage in 18.86 seconds, bringing the DPS out to 77.3 thousand. With Cloudstrike, I found it most optimal to shoot 4 times, then reload, then swap and shoot a rocket. This can all be done in the time it takes for Hothead to autoload. Since Cloudstrike does have more ammo, I was able to swap for longer, getting off all 7 rockets here. In total, this was around 1.55 million damage in 23.04 seconds, which comes out to 67.5 thousand damage per second. This is definitely much lower, but we are dealing around 100,000 more damage here. Also keep in mind that Cloudstrike would have extra ammo left over compared to Izzy, since I didn't actually incorporate triple tap into this rotation, while the Izzy combo would have 1 rocket left over. Next season, Font of Might will allow multiple copies to increase weapon damage, and a kinetic version will also be available. Running 1 copy will be a 10% increase, running 3 copies will be a 22% increase, and we don't know what running 2 copies will provide yet. For this testing, I'm going to be assuming it is right in the middle at a 16% increase, and if it isn't a 16% buff at 2 copies, I will be going over how a different percentage would change up damage at the end of the video. The most optimal setup under these conditions for Izzy and rocket swaps is going to be 1 copy for kinetic weapons to buff Izzy, and then 2 copies to buff Hothead. Using these values and the exact same rotation, Izzy is going to hit 10% harder, and Hothead will now hit 16% harder. This would bring out the total damage for the rotation to 1.64 million, and this is dealt in the same time frame, which would now reach up to 87.9 thousand damage per second. Cloudstrike, on the other hand, would have gotten the full 22% increase along with Hothead, as they are both arc, so this would bring out the total damage we deal in the rotation to 1.87 million. This is significantly higher than the Izzy combo, which makes sense, but as you can see on screen, it still doesn't compete with the DPS that the other rotation is dealing. This comes out to 82.3 thousand damage per second, which is still a decent bit behind Izzy. The TLDR for the testing is as follows. The Cloudstrike combo will be able to deal around 17% more damage overall compared to Izzy, but assuming that you do have around a 20-second damage phase, I think Izzy is going to be the play for a few specific reasons. First, the rotation is easier to pull off in the sense that you only need to hit one crit per cycle. This would also remove the need for div, assuming you can hit your crits, which leaves more room for more players dealing damage. Also, for just one single shot, you're never going to deal with recoil. Second, the total damage output is pretty comparable, as I mentioned, so for any damage phase around or shorter than the 20-second mark, Izzy rocket swapping is going to be better. And then lastly, if the value for 2 copies of Phanta Might ends up being higher than 16%, which I would imagine it will be, then this DPS gets even better. Obviously, synergizing weapons will always be the play, but Cloudstrike is the best arc option, and it still isn't beating Izzy out, in my opinion. The only way that I could ever see this changing would be if you could consistently hit multiple lightning strikes against bosses with larger hitboxes. But as I mentioned, I personally haven't seen this taking effect, and I also don't realistically know how high this would scale, because it's the smaller number, around 9,000, that would be the one hitting multiple times, which might not even bring DPS up by that much. Let me know your thoughts on the testing in the comments below and which weapons you think stand the best chance at being meta in Lightfall. I do also stream a bunch over on my Twitch where we do low man, speedruns, and other PvE challenges. A link to that and my Discord server are both in the description below. Anyways, that's all for this video, guys. As always, have a good one. Peace.